Shalom, 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 my brothers and sisters. Welcome to End Time Words to Yashar'al. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are End Time Words to an awakening nation, an awakening nation of believers, consisting of both Hebrew and Goyim. You have Hebrew, chosen of the Most High Yahuah, and Goyim, all other nations, which many people know as Gentiles, that are made one by Yahushua, our Messiah, our Mashiach. Yes, that are made one. This message is for those who seek to worship and obey, and who are made one by Yahushua. We are an awakening nation of believers. And if you're tuning in for the first time, I welcome you again. This segment of End Time Words to Yashar'al will focus on identifying functioning words, water, and budding seeds, and more. Today is June 23rd, 2013. June 23rd, 2013. With that said, let us begin. In Isaiah 55:11, we are instructed that every word that proceeds from the Most High Father Yahuah will not return to him empty or void, but will accomplish the task that they are designed to perform. Clearly, this verse let us know that every word that comes from the Father will accomplish their task. So there are actions, there are expectations, and there are actions that will occur, my brothers and sisters. And if all truth and all righteousness originate from the Father, if all truth in our words and communications to one another, if our words and communications to one another are true, truth can only originate from the Father. So let us be mindful that there are actions, there are expectations, there are things that must be done. We are also reminded in Ephesians 5:26 that the word of the Most High has been compared to water and has cleansing properties, that his words have cleansing properties. We are also reminded that the sovereign, or in some way, some people might say kingdom, of Almighty Yahuah is like a mustard seed. In Mark 4:30, we see a comparison of a plant, a specific plant, the mustard seed, that is compared to the kingdom of Yah, or the sovereign of Yah, or Yahuah. Where does truth originate? Can we agree that function and action are similar in meaning? Yes, you have heard me say, if you've tuned in before, speak about function over form and talk about function. Because you see, my brothers, we can talk and speak and rattle off all day. We can type on internet, on blogs, on Facebook or Power Talk. We can type, talk, communicate all day long. But the bottom line is, what does our lifestyle reflect? Do our actions reflect that of an obedient servant to the Most High? Do our actions reflect one who worships and desires to serve the Most High? You see, these are some questions to ask and things to consider. What actions are taking place within our communities, within our communications, within our body of fellowship, in our groups or our camps, whatever label you choose, but where there's two or more? What actions do we see? Who can discern the action of words within us one to another? In other words, my brothers and sisters, who's able to discern when we're communicating to one another those actions, whether they are righteous or not? It would be wise to continue day by day, moment by moment, through ever-increasing prayer, to learn the voice of the Most High, to study his word and be able to rightly divide it, so that we're able to discern the functioning, the actions that come as a result of words that comes to our heart, mind, body, and soul. Pray and watch. so much is taken for granted, but it does not negate purpose nor stop the flow of truth nor actions. Again, identifying functioning words, in other words, words that cause action, words that may even cause us to be still. That is the subject of this segment. Water. Being able to know that the word of the Most High is comparable to water. Water is used. Budding seeds. The word is also compared to a seed, specifically a mustard seed. So, with that said, let us dive into some scriptures and let's examine identifying functioning words. Let's examine water. Let's examine the budding seeds, my brothers, if we may. If you may. Isaiah 55:11, as I mentioned so often, reads as this: So is my word that goes forth from my mouth. It does not return to me empty, but shall do what I please, and shall certainly accomplish what I sent it for. Keep in mind, my brothers and sisters, the words that come out of our mouth, if they are true, if they are righteous, if they are out of obedience from the compelling influence of the Most High, the guiding spirit of Yahushua, then they have a task to accomplish, and they will accomplish it successfully. Everything that we say does not have to be a thee or a thou, or everything we say does not have to be word for word a scripture. Some things that we speak, if we seek to examine these words, then they will embrace scripture. Scripture will bear witness to our words. So many people think the only communication we can have is just throwing scriptures at one another. There is so much more, my brothers and sisters, so much more. Let us just examine the characteristics, the structure of our words, and let us weigh them with the scriptures that are made alive to us by the set-apart Spirit. Otherwise, we may attempt to examine words using our academic prowess as we read scripture, and we may miss something. Before we do this, it would be wise to be sensitive to the Spirit, the set-apart Spirit of Yahushua. Otherwise, using academic prowess, our own skill sets, we may not take into consideration other scriptures. So many people take scriptures in part to push an agenda or a thought or a so-called right ruling. Let us move forward. I'd like to read Ephesians 5:25-27. Husbands, love your wives as Messiah also did love the assembly and gave himself for it. Now here's the key. The Messiah gave himself for the assembly in order to set it apart and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word. So you see, here we see the word symbolic of water. Washing, cleansing. What does washing and cleansing do? It removes the filth. It removes the waste. It unveils a cleaner, better result. So the washing of water by the word. Ephesians 5:27 goes on to say, in order to present to himself a splendid assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any of this sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. So you see, the washing of water by the word. These are actions. These are functional words. These are words that describe to us something, that a transformation that we should be going through daily. Yes, my brothers and sisters, when we righteously walk in obedience, when we govern ourselves in alignment to Scripture, there's a washing, there's a cleansing. How many of us are aware that in growth comes the cleansing, comes the splendid assembly? Let me go on. Mark, 4th chapter, verses 30-32. And he said, to what shall we compare the reign of Elohim? Or with what parable shall we present it? And he responded, like a mustard seed, which when it is sown on the ground is smaller than all seeds on the earth. And when it is sown, it grows up and becomes greater than all plants and forms large branches, so that the birds of the heaven are able to nest under its shade. Here we see the kingdom of Elohim, the reign of Elohim. The reign of Elohim compared to a mustard seed. How many of us have ever paused and say, okay, a seed must be planted in fertile ground? The conditions in the environment of the seeds must be appropriate for the seed to die or bud. For the seed to open up and no longer be a seed, but becomes a young tree. And the tree, as it grows, conditions and environment, it must have water. It must have water. It must have rich soil. It must have air. It must have conditions that allow room for it to grow. And it must be granted time to grow. So some of you might be saying, Symmanayah, you're getting too detailed here. Am I getting too detailed, or am I expressing some details that if we consider the step-by-step process of a mustard seed coming into a full-grown tree, it must bud leaves and branches. If we consider all that is necessary, all that is required to bring a seed to a huge tree, just maybe we will come to realize that in the body of Yashar'al there are so many details, there are so many things that must occur in the shaping of an awakening nation. Maybe when we take the details for granted and ignore them, we miss some things that may be critical to the strengthening of the body of Yashar'al. So let us consider, my brothers and sisters, from a mustard seed to a majestic tree, the reign of Elohim goes through a process for his children. Let me continue and share another verse. This is Psalms chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers. So to not walk in the counsel of wrong, to not stand in the counsel of wrong, to not stand in the path of sinners, to not sit in the seat of scoffers, these require some actions to come away or not go into. Action words, my brothers. Verse 2 in Psalms goes on to say, but his delight is in the Torah. The man whose delight is in the Torah of Yahuah. Now, for those of you who sensationalize the word Torah, not knowing what it means, Torah simply means instruction. But his delight is in the instruction of Yahuah. So many people think Torah is just written text or just the written laws of Moshe. This is not so. Torah means instruction, and we serve a living Elohim, an Almighty Father who is alive, who guides us and instructs us. And instruction, Torah means instruction. So let me read Psalms 1:2 again. But his delight is in the Torah of Yahuah, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. You see, in relationship, in true relationship, my brothers and sisters, we meditate in the instructions that go beyond what we see written in Scripture. Now, they don't conflict with Scripture. So I'm not saying ignore Scripture. What I am saying is there's so much more beyond what is written. Keep in mind that this is a living relationship. The Scriptures are witness. The Scriptures bear witness. The Scriptures are for teaching and for guidance. And the Scriptures, yes, join hand in hand with righteous actions. So many of us miss that. It goes on to say in Psalms 1:3, for he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water. A tree planted by the rivers of water. So we see a comparison of this individual, of each of us being compared to a tree planted by the rivers of water. And we've read, I shared when it talks about the rivers of water, how the water could be symbolic of the word of the Most High, the living word as well as written word. It goes on to say, for he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prosper. See, so here we see a situation where there's strength, there's acknowledgement of the word from the Most High as a flowing river. And it's producing some, again, functional words. It's producing fruit in due time, in its season. So this is the result of budding seeds. A tree started out as a seed. Unless we look at Genesis when the Most High first created the plants. But thereafter we see trees, it began as budding seeds. We see the tree is receiving what is necessary to be strong, what is necessary to yield a fruit. Functional words, my brothers and sisters. So as we communicate and fellowship with one another, our actions should bring about a functional influence that draws closer to one another, to the Yah in us and one another. And I'll talk about the Yah in us, and I'll talk about that some more in another recording. But drawing closer to one another, drawing closer to the body, the members drawing together, being fitly brought together. Something else that we also see a comparison where bread is used as an important factor, where Yahushua is like that bread of life for us. Consider John 6:51, where the Messiah, the Mashiach, says, I am the living bread, which came down out of the heaven. If anyone eats of this bread, he shall live forever. And indeed, the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. So how many people have really asked themselves, how do I understand what this verse is saying? Could the Mashiach be saying that he's the living bread? Could he be describing that his physical presence was something that we could see, touch, feel, witness, and seek to imitate under his righteous guidance? So in other words, I'm saying doing as he do, following him as he lead, and therefore the result of it is that we become partakers of that living bread. We've heard the term in the world, or in the United States, you are what you eat. So if we are looking, listening, and learning, and becoming similar in our actions to the actions of the Mashiach, is not this a good thing? And it's in the second part of the verse here, and indeed the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. So he gave of his flesh. He demonstrated through his living and physical presence for the life of the world. And the world, he's saying, he's speaking of the people. Let me move on to Proverbs 12:19. It says here, Proverbs 12:19, the lip of truth is established forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. You see, my brothers and sisters, again, functional words. The lip of truth is established. When something is established, we see reinforcement. we see acknowledgement. We see the strength of it. We see the everlasting demonstration and effect that this thing that's established forever have. Whereas a lying tongue will come to be a thing of the past. Are our words always filled with scriptures? Quoting scriptures constantly, is this what we have been instructed to do? Do we see in the scriptures that we're supposed to just walk around and just quote scriptures all the time to one another? That's the only way we can grow in fellowship? Not so. It would be wise to realize the span, the depth of our communications can be filled with so much more. Yes, my brothers and sisters, our communications, the things we may look at as just practical talk and communications, if they line up with scripture, in other words, if they bring comfort, wisdom, strength, if they encourage endurance, if they align with scripture, are not the things that we think are just plain simple words and communication, are they not from above? For we know, we've read in scripture where the enemy seek to kill and destroy and devour. So if we're not spewing destructive words that divide and destroy and devour and that just seek to consume us, could it be possible that even in our natural communications, those natural words may have origins from above? Are we taking for granted that if we've come away from using cursings and unproductive babblings and have replaced that with just wholesome words and communicating with one another, have we come to realize that this could be the fruit of a righteous spirit within us? There is so much more. Yes, our communication should fall in line with scriptures, but all too often what appears to be simplest to the complex communications are ignored as having origins from above. Our interactions with one another, whether it be school, education, non-traditional training, family, work, etc., each of these present opportunities to display obedience to the Most High Father, and in doing so we lift up Yahushua our Mashiach. And when we lift him up, it is said, he will draw all men. You see, so often we want to read instruction and think we can take it and run. Why do we fail to discern righteous words from one another and dismiss righteous communications as one's opinion? Why do we do that? I have seen many situations where so many people who consider themselves leaders, teachers of mores, or strong spiritually, quick to say, well, that's your opinion, if we're not quoting directly from the scriptures. I've seen people say, well, show me the script. Show me the script. And yes, you can show one scripture or another scripture. But remember, my brothers and sisters, instruction from above first comes from above. The scripture it becomes a product, because in order for man to have written the scripture, it had to come from somewhere, someone. And Yahuah, Almighty Yahuah, is spirit everywhere at all times. So it was the unseen that became the seen. But all too often people will say, show me the script, show me the script, opposed to praying and seeking discernment, opposed to studying and say, that aligns with this scripture, that scripture, or saying, why do you say such? We have not learned, my brothers and sisters, how to consistently examine and yield to the discernment presented to us by the Spirit of Yahushua. We sometimes echo as though it's about me, or we try to put the person at task by saying, prove it, prove it. It's not about proving, it's about being obedient. The Most High Father will bring about the proof. It is not us. So many of us want to take functional scriptures and try to use it to our advantage. It's almost like saying, if you have a jar of water for a plant and instead you say, no, I'm going to take that and I'm going to use that water to add some sugar and make me some Kool-Aid. Trying to take something and use it out of place. You see, my brothers and sisters, it's not about that. It's about being obedient. Let us speak when we're told to speak. Let us be quiet when we're told to be quiet. Let us present scripture if we're guided to. Because keep in mind, my brothers and sisters, there's a planting that occurs, there's a watering that occurs, there's an increase that occurs. Let us know how to respond, and not respond because someone says, show me the script, show me the script. Pray. Maybe the Father wants you to speak a thing and walk away. He has someone else that will present the water, or he has another way in which the increase will come. Maybe he wants you to share the scriptures. Pray about it before we quickly respond. Let us not allow someone trying to demand proof, dictate how we should be. Could there be more from a living Elohim? Much more. Could it be we are missing due to our lack of faith in a weak relationship with the Mashiach, the Messiah? Do you know that anything that is not against the scripture and builds up the body may just possibly be from the Most High? It would be wise for us to learn his voice. It's possible. It is, my brothers and sisters. It would be wise to learn his voice and discern the truth. Not all things that are perceived to be one's opinion are such. Some are righteous communications that might appear to be a person's opinion, but let us study and pray so that we are able to discern. Let us have a heart with the intent and purpose of worshiping and obeying, and we might just be able to discern correctly whether the words are indeed someone's opinion or not. Obedience has a process. Obedience has a process that leads to confirmed righteous actions that will line up with scripture. It might not be the scripture you think, but if it's a righteous communication, if it's obedience to the Most High, it lines up with scripture. Search the scriptures. This is why it's so important to study. I've witnessed so many mores, teachers, elders, prophets, many of which are self-appointed, self-proclaimed. I've also seen self-appointed individuals going about proclaiming others as mores, teachers, elders, prophets, not realizing it is the Spirit of the Most High. It is the Spirit of Yahushua that calls or chooses those whom he will use. So yes, the body of believers, yes, amongst Yashar'al are the self-appointed. Yes, there are those who try to have an appearance of being a leader, who are self-appointed, and they're going about appointing others and saying, oh, you're a more, you're an elder, and so forth, thinking that that's being nice or that's the way to build themselves up. There are so many hidden agendas and strategies amongst brethren who desire to be leaders, not realizing a leader is a servant. There are so many who desire to be leaders and teachers and mores, notwithstanding the importance of listening and entertaining the questions that will bring about a magnification of righteousness and the answers. No, these individuals want to tell and teach and talk, not look at questions, not examine the truth, not demonstrate iron sharpening iron. Beware of such, for their time is coming, my brothers and sisters. The time is coming where the self-appointed, where those who patronize one another and pat each other on the back, to those who esteem themselves and one another, who ignore the guidance of the set-apart Spirit of Yahushua, they have their time and reward. This is erroneous, to be self-appointed and going around, quote-unquote, crowning other people as mores, teachers, and elders. Let us establish in discernment, my brothers. Let us establish through a discerning heart, what is truly right, who we see that are truly called or may be chosen of the Most High. Let us come away from those who are playing religion. Let us come away from those with hidden agendas, with those who erroneously portray something they believe the scripture is talking about. There's so much we dismiss and take for granted. Yes, many will probably say, oh, that's his opinion or her opinion. How much are we dismissing or taking for granted and ignoring? Have we succumbed to the ways of the world? Have we succumbed to this art of language, communications, being quick to speak, that we are dull of experiencing true discernment? Imagine the path of words from their origins to the resting place. In other words, imagine the path that words originated and where they are going and what they are accomplishing. And sometimes in imagining such, one can see clearly by asking questions. Consider the beginnings of water. Where did it come from? Where is it going? What is its use? If you can tell me where the river began and where it ended, can you also tell me where righteous words begin and where they end? Sure enough, if we seek to pursue righteousness, it can only be answered by saying from the Almighty Father. Look at all these comparisons again with fresh eyes, ears, and a heart to know the Most High. The comparisons of functioning words, the comparison of water, and seeds. Look at these comparisons as they relate to our relationship, our fellowship. Look at them with a pair of fresh eyes. I invite you to consider the details and the processes involved. Tell me, what did or what are you experiencing? Share. Let us come to know one another. Are we truly family? Is all of this just remedial to you? Think again. No. Pray and take another look, my brothers and sisters. There just may be something that is ignored, taken for granted, or overlooked. There just may be something that's mislabeled that has righteous origins. Anything that we do that builds up the body of believers can only come from above if it lines up with Scripture. Beware of those who imitate or try to project instructions from the Most High, but the Almighty Father is far from their actions. There are so many people that try to do and imitate what they think the Scriptures are saying, and there are so many who succumb to it because they're unaware or they are young in their walk, in their journey. Many can say this is of a person's own will, or they can say it's of Yahuah. But because they say that doesn't always mean that to be true. All proof in due season, yes, all proof will come, and the Most High will bring to naught the pride and the haughtiness of the self-appointed and misguided leaders, mores, prophets, and so-called priests. You see, my brothers and sisters, it is not for us to put labels on us. Yes, a brother or sister may define the actions of what they see from an individual, but for the individual to run around and say, oh yeah, I'm a more, I'm a prophet, I'm a priest. We were never instructed to do such. Only to walk in worship and obedience. Yes, people will define us. Yes, we might say, well, this is what some have said. But so many people say this more, and that seemed to be the most attractive of those who desire to be teachers. The term more More simply means teacher. You know, it just saddens me, my brothers and sisters, that so many of us have come to the point where we are sensationalizing words, or we're grabbing words and sensationalize them. We sensationalize the word Torah, which means instruction. We see a mass sensationalization of the word more, which simply means teacher. We see a sensationalizing of ruach, which means spirit. We see a sensationalizing of the word, the phrase ruach akadash, which means set apart spirit. And some people are attracted because of the use of these words. Let us not be distracted, and let us learn how to keep our eye focused on true worship and obedience. Brace for the impact, my brothers and sisters, because soon we will see uncoverings like never before, increased discernment amongst those who pursue righteousness and seek to worship and obey. It will be a shocker. It's going to shock many. We're going to see attitudes, emotions, and turmoil. Yes, we'll witness. There will be many other descriptions that could be used and defined as a result of cleaning up Yashar'al. No, the Father is not the author of confusion. But do not forget that in reproof, there is struggle. People fighting against righteousness. In chastening, there is pain and hurt and attitudes and emotions. Why? Because of the enemy trying to prevent us from being perfected as a member of the body of the Most High. There will be judgment and there will be wrath. And out of it will come a refined body of believers, my brothers and sisters. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, whether we recognize our journey using words, water, and or seeds, each require details and a process for bringing us to maturity. Whether we pay close attention to the details and meticulously walk in wisdom, or whether we try to reach maturity by the virtue of aging, the Most High's words will be fulfilled concerning the shaping of His people, His nation. The Father is not slack concerning His promise, nor His plan for us. Pray and watch. Things will and are shaping into something most widely taken for granted. True unity and righteousness in our fellowship will emerge. We will see a demonstration, my brothers and sisters. Functioning words. Let us begin to ask ourselves as we communicate, what does your words do to me? What am I receiving? How does it embody my functions, my actions, my walk? Are your words like water? Am I a budding seed? Or am I now a tree planted by the rivers of water? Pray and watch, my brothers and sisters, for even the things we take for granted, our eyes and ears may become open. We may become more aware that we have taken too much for granted. A time, a season will come, and we will realize that yes, this is war. We are in battle, and soon and very soon, the Mashiach will return. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, until next time, I want you to be encouraged. I want you to be encouraged to know that we are a functioning and living body of believers. Be encouraged. Continue to pray. Continue to watch. Continue to study. Most of all, establish a heart to worship and obey the Most High. Pray some more and seek to grow in discernment with understanding, for the time is at hand. Until next time, shalom. Shalom. Shalom.